Hello, welcome to Model Kit Stuff. My name is Jason and this is the October Roundup. So here we are in November already. We're heading very quickly towards the end of the year. But before we talk about what's happening in November, let's have a quick jog through October. Make sure you guys didn't miss something. So as a creator, it's always a little bit difficult to know how much of what you say is actually listened to by the viewer, how much fast forwarding is done, how much start of the video and then actually not bothered about this, we'll move on to the next video. You really don't know, but you guys proved to me that at least some of you listen to what I say, because I said one word in the focus on tools video and boom. So we did a focus on tools video on wire straightening, and that got people chatting because I said I think this is an essential tool, and that one word essential meant no, it's not essential, you just do this, you just do that. And the result was we got some great tips on how to straighten wire, so that was brilliant, thank you very much. However, I do think that wire straightener is particularly good when you get to thicker gauges of wire, and some of those other methods get a little bit tougher as the wire gets thicker. Anyway, there you go, you have my view, and it got people talking, and it's great to see people sharing their views, sharing their thoughts and sharing their tips. And then we also looked at that dreadfully designed and thought through building slip for ships. What a waste of a great idea. We also looked at the Posca pens, the paint pens, and also bottle tops. And as always, the idea of those tool videos is to just share my thoughts on what you can use and what's handy and what's not handy when you're modelling. And there is people that watch my videos of all different abilities. Some people who are way better modelers than I am, and other people who are just starting out, just coming back to it. So I try and do videos that cater for everybody at one point or another. And the bottle tops is a really great tip, I think. So in terms of first impressions, some of the videos that we recorded in September, you saw in October. You've still got some to go before we get to these, which we will in a minute. But we started October with the tram. And it's always interesting when we do something that's not plastic. You get people that are clearly interested in the subject and then go, oh, but it's not plastic. Honestly, dip your toe in, have a go. It's not that different from making plastic at all. You use the same tools. It takes up the same space. It's not really any more messy, and that tram particularly will go together really nicely, and you might just find that you enjoy it. Many of the wooden ship manufacturers have starter kits which are quite simplified and generally a bit smaller as well, so you know, don't be afraid, put it on your Christmas list, get yourself one and see how you get on. So we also had a look at that civilian Spitfire. I think it's been reviewed a few times before on other channels, and it's not a brand spanking new kit, so I think a few of you have probably seen that one reviewed before. I simply bought it because it was red, and I'm, you know, like red planes, sucker for red planes, and I think it looks nice. And then we had a look at the staff car, didn't we? Which it was a little bit disappointing. We couldn't pose the doors and so on and so forth, but the actual kit, what you got, was nicely done. And if you're building a diorama and want a staff car, the fact that came with figures, I think really helpful. And then of course the Tamiya 109G6. Now I will let you into a little secret. I have missed something in the first impressions video that I did of that. Something that was actually glaringly obvious, but I was so focused on what was in the kit that I missed what wasn't in the kit. And we will come back to that in November when we compare the Tamiya and the Edward 109s. So don't miss it, because it's a bit of a shocker. So coming in November from the first impressions point of view, firstly we've got that big S-boat that we talked about in the last roundup. So that's been filmed and it's already stacked up and waiting to just go live. It's there and done. So you've got that coming, which is it's a huge kit, and I think you'll all enjoy that. It's quite an interesting first impressions video. Then of course we're going to have the Edward 109 and the comparison that we were just talking about. So that fills up quite a bit of your month. The other first impressions video that you will see during November is this. So you will be seeing another ocean liner in the form of the Royal Mail ship Mauretania. Now this is a much smaller kit than the Queen Mary 2. It's a 1/600 scale, so look out for that. You may have come across the Mauretania before. She had the speed record for crossing the Atlantic for about 20 years, I seem to remember. I will talk about it with a bit more accuracy in the first impressions video, but actually one of my favourite ocean liners, and I'm going to tell you now I prefer it to the Titanic in terms of aesthetics. It's all those vents, look at them, beautiful. Anyway, look out for that, quite interesting, and we can paint her in a different paint scheme, always good. So as always, as we head through November, I will be filming the first impressions videos for December, and we'll be filming this lot in that mix. So let's have a quick look at what's coming up there. So in terms of the first impressions videos, we are going to have a look at this Tamiya kit that actually used to be an Italeri kit. So story behind this is I built this last year for a build thread in a club I'm a member of, and accidentally bought 2 of them, so I still have one that we can review. Bit shocking really when my day job is procurement that I doubled up, but there you go. So I have already built this, and maybe in the first impressions video I might show you the completed model, so we might do a first and last impressions. But anyway, we will take a look at this kit. Basically it's a Italeri kit that Tamiya added new parts to, namely a figure. But quite an interesting first impressions video, I think, and we've not done an armoured car before, I don't think. So there we go. And we're also going to take a look at this, the Tirpitz, the Revell Tirpitz, and not just any version of it, the Platinum Edition. So we have Pontos etch and brass and wood decks in the set. So should be interesting. Now I bought this when it first came out as a kit, and I've not really looked inside other than to just check nothing was broken. I've not actually really looked at the kit, so it'll be interesting to revisit it. And the reason it'll be interesting to revisit it is because Revell brought the Tirpitz out after they brought that updated Bismarck out. Now, when Revell brought their updated Bismarck out, it was the best 1/350 scale Bismarck on the market. Now, I've not seen the more recent Trumpeter one, but I can tell you now, the Revell one is an awful lot cheaper, and even with an aftermarket set, is still cheaper than the Trumpeter one. So I suspect that the Revell Bismarck is still one of the better kits to buy. I see a lot of people buying the Tamiya one that was produced in the early 80s, and it's not a good kit at all. So if you're in the market for a Bismarck, the Revell one is definitely worth looking at. Certainly a better kit than the Tamiya one. Anyway, that being said, I think that will be an interesting first impressions. I'm looking forward to it as much as hopefully 1 or 2 of you guys are. We'll see what we get in there. So yeah, lots to look at in that. That'll be a big review. And whilst we're talking ships, another first impressions we're going to do is this. So the Mark Graf First World War battleship from ICM. Now, you don't really see much about ICM and ships, and to be honest, they haven't got many ship kits, and they're all generally around the same class of ship. What's interesting about this is the price. £35 in the UK. £35 for a 1/350 scale battleship, and a battleship from one of the most interesting periods of naval design. So I'm really interested to see what that looks like, because at 35 quid that puts a battleship at a decent scale into the range of a lot more people than most ship kits, to be fair. I mean, a 1980s Tamiya kit is going to cost you the best part of £60, and that's nearly half the price for a kit that it might be one of the older kits from ICM, but if it's a reasonably good standard like most ICM kits are, we could be onto something really interesting here. So that's me interested in that. Do we get a decent kit for not much money? In which case, is it worth buying into? I'm fascinated to find out. Hopefully you are as well, and we will take a look at that in November. So let's talk builds. In November we are making some changes. We've talked about this at the start of the summer. We said some changes would inevitably be coming. My traditional way of working is to have 4 kits on the go. It's been a little bit of a struggle to maintain that and find time for putting the videos together and getting the videos out. But what's now happening is that in November I go back to the office and no longer work from home. Or actually, I no longer work from home full time. Truth of the matter is, I'll be able to work from home half the week. So I will still save some travel time and get a bit more model time than I've ever had previously. But right now, as far as you guys are concerned, I've got 5 builds on the go, and they're all ships. And that's bothering me. And I've said before it was bothering me a little bit. So the Megami is actually finished, and in November the build of that will be done, and the series will complete. And so we need something to follow that. So what I'm doing is I'm making the change at that point. So when we've had the last Megami video, we're going to make a change and then carry on going forward. And what the intention is going forward is to have a main build, which is how I've always worked. I've always had a main build and then smaller builds that I sort of dip in and out of. So when the main build is getting stressful, monotonous, or just lost my mojo, or don't fancy it that day, I've got something else to dip into. So I want to maintain that because that is how I work, and I've worked like that for a long time. I can't just sit and focus on one kit. So the main build is going to be the Queen Mary 2. It's a popular build, it's going at a pace, and I'm quite frankly really enjoying it. I haven't enjoyed building something quite as much as I am with the Queen Mary 2 for quite some time. So in November we're going to see quite a bit of scratch building on the Queen Mary 2. There's quite a bit to be done before we build up some of the decks, and as well as the scratch building, we're going to see some of the aftermarket stuff starting to be prepared, and building up the main structure parts. So there's quite a bit coming along in the Queen Mary 2. We've sort of got through the slow moving bit, if you like. So the hull, it's 3 weeks work for me, 2 videos for you guys, but 3 weeks of hard graft for me to get that hull where it needed to be painted. A lot more involved than it looks, because all of those individual windows were painted by hand, and then we've got decals and varnishing and quite the masking and so on and so forth. A lot of flash cleanup on a lot of windows. So big ship, big cleanup. Yeah, it was just a big job. But now we'll move at a little bit more pace, and I'm hopeful that you'll find the scratch building actually quite interesting, because we're going to add quite a bit of extra detail right at an early stage. So you've got that coming. I want to then move away from ships for the other build. So the other build will be the Hawker Hurricane Tropical. Now this is something that I 3, 4, maybe more months ago said is coming up, and I hadn't forgotten that. It's been sat there patiently waiting for me. So we will be kicking this off. I'm not sure I'm going to do first impressions. I might just look at the kit quickly as the build introduction to that. But that is what's going to follow Megami, but not before we do our Christmas build. And you'll have seen a trailer for that already. So let's talk Christmas build. The Christmas build is this, which is this. Now in the UK, lots of these get sold in some of the sort of budget supermarkets as we run up to Christmas. So lots of kids will get this as a stocking filler and in their pile of presents under the tree. And what I wanted to do was have something out there so that on Christmas Day, if you've got one of these kits, and it might not be the Focke-Wulf, it might be you've got the Spitfire, or the Hurricane, or the Zero, or whatever they've done this year, because this is one that they did last year. If you've got that, on day one you can crack it open, you can go to my video, and you can see how to build that as your first ever absolute beginner's model. And we use only what is in that box, almost. You still need a knife, not supplied, and one or two other things like an emery board, nail file effectively, and some cocktail sticks and a bottle top, and pretty much that will get you to that. This is it built up, like I say, just from the box, so it is doable. And as a first build, you can absolutely get to that if you follow my video. I might be doing a second video, not sure, where I will take the Spitfire and, again, using what's in the box, do a sort of beginners plus video. You built 2 or 3 kits and now you want to do some fuel stains and a little bit of a wash inside, and just some very first steps into adding a little bit of realism, and show you how to paint the canopy, because I didn't paint the canopy on this build, but it's actually really easy to paint the canopy without paint masks as a beginner, as a kid. So yeah, look out for those. They will follow directly after Megami, and then that'll lead into our Tropical Hurricane. So then we'll finally have an aircraft build on the way. And as we move forward into next year, you'll have seen the trailers for the Tiger. The Tiger will follow the Hurricane, whilst we carry on with the Queen Mary 2, which is going to take some time to build, because firstly we want to do a justice and pay some attention to detail, and secondly there's quite a bit of scratch building to do on it, quite a lot, because we want to pack it full of detail, and that just takes time. After the Queen Mary 2, then I've got 2 options when it comes to ships. I either jump onto the Arizona, which at the moment, if you were to ask me, that's the way I'm leaning, or back onto the Warspite. I know I've, as mentioned before with the Warspite, I've damaged a part and I've been trying to source an alternative. And at the moment, my only alternative is to buy a photo etch set from White Ensign Models that would cost me 70 quid. And I actually need 1 part off it. Well, 3 parts that makes up 1 part. The stern gallery has been trashed. and I need to replace it. It doesn't prevent me building the rest of the model, but I would like it on there for obvious reasons. So I'm still scouring. Can I buy a kit cheaper that might have it in? Because the plastic one that came with the kit, I binned when I didn't need it anymore. So my mistake. Wasn't me that broke it though. Coming up on the focus on tools side of things, we're going to have a look at a rivet maker, which I'm going to be using quite extensively on the Queen Mary 2 build. And we're also going to be having a look at a lathe. So our first proper look at a wooden kit tool. So the way I envisage builds going from November onwards is that a main build, the Queen Mary 2 at the moment, we will do 2 videos during the month, or basically every other week there'll be a video. And in the other weeks, there will be one of 2 different subjects. They'll either be the secondary build, which is going to be the Christmas build and then the tropical hurricane, or the fly. So we will try and do once a month an update on the fly. Now, the beautiful thing about a wooden ship kit is that a lot of the processes are the sort of thing you can do quickly in your lunch break. So in half an hour I can put a couple of strips on the hull and just slowly work my way through it. Later on I can tie blocks on a yard arm in my lunch break. So it's the sort of thing I can just pick up and whittle a little bit away, and that's what I want to try and do, because I just don't have the time to spend a week on it. So we'll see how it goes, but that's the plan. We're every other week with the main build, and the other 2 weeks will be something else, which is sort of plodding along. But because they'll be smaller builds, they'll progress at a quicker rate anyway, and we might just, I don't know how quickly I can build that, especially as it's got 1 or 2 extras in the box. But if you want to find out more about what they are, you'll have to watch the video. So I hope you've enjoyed October. Been a bit of a weird month for me, because actually today, as I record this, it's the 15th of the month. So I'm talking about stuff that I know's coming that you've not seen, and in the past tense, knowing that you will have seen it by the time you watch this. And that's because I'm taking my kids to France and for a week in the school holidays. And so it also means I've got a week where I've not done any building. So when I get back in November, I'm going to be a little bit behind on my build. So we're going to have to pick up the pace. But that's okay. I booked a couple of days of holidays from work, so we can pick up the pace that way. Now, the final thing to say is that I have had 1 or 2 comments over the last year about the fact that I might have an interest in music of a guitar-orientated nature. And it is true. I do like my rock music and my heavy metal music, purely for recreational purposes only, you understand. But yes, I do like my music. You might have spotted the t-shirts from time to time. And generally when I'm doing some modelling and not talking to you guys making a video, that's what I've got on in the background. So I don't really talk about the music, it's a modelling channel, but some of you have spotted that I've got Iron Maiden and AC/DC coasters, so yes, I do like my music. Now, what I did do in October is, if you go onto my channel page and look in posts, you'll see there are 2 posts in there. I think it's in community or posts or something like that. Can't remember at the moment. There's 2 videos. One is the interview with the Hamburg Maritime Museum, and the other one is a music video from a band called The Warning. Now, The Warning are 3 sisters from Mexico who are extremely talented. The youngest one is still a teenager, but they are extremely talented. One of my favourite bands is Metallica. They have done a cover of Enter Sandman, many people know that song, in celebration of 30 years of the Black Album, one of the most popular albums of all time, by the largest band of all time, and they have absolutely nailed it, and it's actually the first track on their charity album, The Blacklist. So if you've not come across the warning and you like your music, do check them out. I think I posted Evolve. Yeah, I've posted Evolve, which is one of my favourites, but they've got a new EP out. Check them out. They're very, very talented. Anyway, that's enough on music. Let's get back to models. So the last thing to say about November is there will be an additional video coming out to celebrate a year of me making videos for you guys to watch. So Model Kit Stuff is a year old in November on the 9th. So I think on the 9th of November there'll be a video coming out. And in there we will be giving some really special people some big thanks. People that have helped the channel be what it is, people that have helped the channel get where it's going, and one or two channels that have helped out in the way. So there's a lot of thank yous coming up on that video. So do see it. If you're one of my subscribers that's been there from the early days, you know who you are, then yeah, that video is for you. If you only subscribed 5 minutes ago and this is your first video, you've got about 210 videos to go to catch up. Right, that's enough from me. Let's get cracking with actually building some models, and we will see you through November with lots of interesting stuff, including some of this stuff, as we motor towards December. So let's see how things get on in November. Thank you for joining me on the roundup today. Take care everyone, enjoy your modelling, and we will see you very soon.